You wake up with blood in your mouth, not much, just a copper tang on your tongue, a warmth that doesn't belong there. You swallow it, quietly, carefully, because if you panic, the pain will start, and if you scream, someone might come. And someone coming in this city, in this year, isn't always a good thing. Paris, they call it, the city of light, but not down here, not in this alley. Not in this borrowed cot with the straw that pokes through your shirt and scratches at your back like it wants to remind you. You were never meant to sleep peacefully. You touch your lip. There's a gap. A tooth is gone. Again. You don't know if you lost it in the night, or if someone took it. The strange thing is you almost hope they did. Because in 18th century Paris, teeth are more valuable than truth. More permanent than promises, more coveted than gold as long as they aren't in your mouth. A rich man's smile might be made from 6 other people's pain. And somewhere in this city, a lady in silk is sipping wine with your tooth in her jaw. And she'll never know it or care. You lie back down, try to still your breath. Try not to think about the posters you passed yesterday offering 5 sous for healthy molars. 10 if they're white. That's more than a week's bread. You wonder how many parents looked at their children and thought, just one tooth, just one. This isn't the Paris in paintings, not the one with violins and balconies and flirtation in the parks. No, this is a different Paris. One built on rot, on candle smoke, on back room trades and half truths that disappear by morning. What if history didn't remember you? What if your story was erased not by fire or war, but because no one bothered to write it down? Maybe you're not famous, not noble, not worth engraving on a plaque, but someone took your tooth, and that somehow matters. So let's go back. Back to the muddy streets and powdered lies. Back to when beauty was stolen. Back to the aching mouths and broken jaws. Back to a time when Paris was more hungry than grand. This isn't a tale of glory. It's a tale of teeth, and it starts tonight. It's morning now. The sun barely filters through the soot. Crusted window. The light that does come through is the kind that makes dust look holy, like it should be worshipped. You sit up slowly, trying not to wake your mother. She sleeps in the corner, hasn't spoken in 2 days. Her jaws swollen again, soft and round like rising dough, only red and tender. She hums sometimes. You don't think she knows she's doing it. In the hallway, someone sneezes, then swears, then laughs. It's the building's usual symphony, nose drips, threats, feet on rotting stairs. Somewhere above, a baby cries like it's apologizing for being born. Your stomach growls. You hush it with a sip of water from a chipped clay bowl. Still warm from your own breath, you go outside. Rue du Renard smells like boiled rags and horses. It always has. You step over yesterday's ash and a dead fish that no one will clean. There's something oddly calming about it, all like filth that's made peace with itself. A boy runs past you, holding a chicken by the neck. You think he's headed toward Rue Saint-Honore. That's where the butchers are, the ones who let you keep the feet if you smile. You don't feel like smiling today. You pass Madame Fournier on her stoop. She's pulling a tooth out of her own mouth with a rusted key. She does this every Thursday. You've asked her why. She always says the same thing. I'd rather lose it now than have it rot inside me. You believe her. You walk farther, toward the markets, not because you need anything, but because there's nowhere else to go. You spot the apothecary's sign, a wooden tooth dangling from a rusty chain. It creaks when the wind hits it right, like a warning. Inside, it smells like vinegar and dried nettle. The man behind the counter looks up. You don't know his name, but he knows yours. You still got all your front ones? He asks. You nod. He shrugs. Not for long. You both smile at the same time. His smile is silver, not metaphorically. He had a dentist solder tin caps onto what was left of his own. They catch the light when he moves, like coins from a purse. He hands you a small jar of something. Clove paste, he says, for the pain, not free, mind you. You trade him a button and half a soap stub. He accepts. Outside, you hear a street performer playing something slow on a broken violin. its oddly beautiful sour notes wrapped in sweetness. You stop for a moment and listen, clutching the jar in your coat like it might disappear. Behind you, someone whispers. You turn just a shadow. Maybe you're imagining things, or maybe not. Tooth thieves don't always come at night. Some wear aprons, some carry cards that say surgeon, some wait until you fall asleep beside a fire and then simply take, because they can, because no one will ask where your teeth went, because no one asks anything down here. Tonight, you'll sleep with your mouth closed again, but even that won't save you forever, and in the morning, you might wake up missing something else. The violin fades behind you, swallowed by the churn of carts, coughing, and hooves over stone. You walk slowly, trying not to think too much. The city is louder when you think. It's better to float, let your body keep moving, while your mind drifts somewhere quieter. Maybe to the river, maybe to the part of your memory where you still had all your teeth. Your boots pinch, or rather, your left one does. The right has a hole, so the cold has gotten in and started numbing things, your toes, your thoughts. Still, it's better than sitting still. Paris never lets you sit too long without charging for the privilege. You pass a bakery, the smell is cruel. Yeast, ash, a ghost of butter. You watch a woman buy 2 loaves and drop one into the hands of a boy who doesn't even say thank you. Just takes it and runs like the bread might vanish before he can swallow. You remember when you used to run like that, before the teeth started aching, before the fear crept in with the frost. You pass the Hotel Dieu, the city's most charitable hospital, if you can call a hallway of straw mats and saws charity. It smells worse than usual today, blood mostly, a sourness you can't name. Outside the gates, a chalkboard hangs crooked. It lists the current wards: smallpox, rot, extraction. Extraction always has the most names beneath it. They don't mean bullets, they mean teeth. You cross the square with your mouth pressed closed. It's instinct now, the way a rabbit flattens when it hears a hawk. Mouth closed, eyes down, shoulders small. You've seen too many disappearances start with an innocent yawn. They say the dentists are overworked, that the nobles demand more than the dead can supply. Which is why you've heard whispers of men drugged in taverns, of women who wake up bleeding, of children who never wake at all. You try not to believe it, but Etienne believed it. You visited him again last week. They'd moved him closer to the door. That's where they put the ones they don't expect to last. His mouth was packed with rags, his cheeks swollen with infection. You tried to say something kind, but kindness sounds fake around rot. You held his hand instead. He didn't squeeze back. You haven't gone since. By early evening, you've wandered back to your own quartier. The market's mostly closed, but the smells linger: leeks, smoke, and the sweet syrup they use to coat spoiled apples. You pass a stall selling used combs and another with chipped teacups. One vendor is offering dentures, real teeth, threaded together like pearls. You stop and stare. They're clean, polished, gleaming like piano keys. The vendor notices. Good price today. He says softly, from Italy. Very fine mouths in Italy. You don't ask whose mouths, you already know the answer. He lifts a set toward your face, like he's sizing you for a future you can't afford. You turn away, your stomach growls again. You've still got 1 copper coin in your coat. It's enough for broth if they don't count the ladle swipes. You head toward Madame Laurier's, where the soup is watery, and the chairs are loud, but the fire stays lit. She nods as you enter, doesn't speak, just gestures toward the pot. You hand her the coin. She gives you a cracked bowl and a chunk of something vaguely called bread. You sit by the fire. It stings your face, too much heat too fast, but you welcome the burn. Someone else is already seated beside you. A man, middle-aged probably, but it's hard to tell under the soot and sadness. He smells of horsehair and cloves. Your second molar's loose. He says without looking. You blink, pardon. He turns, his eyes are pale, too pale. I said your second molar, upper right. You chew unevenly, I can tell. You stand instinctively, not fast, but enough to put space between you. He raises a hand, calm. Don't worry, I'm not a thief. You glance down. His fingers are stained, not with ink or paint, but something grayer, the color of old ash. I was a dentist. He adds, once. You sit again. Only halfway, bowl in hand, ready to leave if he leans too close. He doesn't. Used to do it by candlelight. He continues, his voice so low it almost blends with the fire's hiss. No gloves, no anesthesia, just a prayer and a good grip. You nod slowly. That tracks. Now they take them in bulk. Contracts. Street sweepers collect mouths like beetles. Doesn't even matter if they're attached. He chuckles softly, a dry, papery sound. They used to think teeth carried memories, he says. Superstition, maybe, but I sometimes wonder. If you wear another man's teeth, you don't remember falling asleep, but you remember waking up. Your mouth is dry. Your gums throb like something is trying to push its way out or burrow in. The room is still dark, still heavy. Your mother hasn't moved. Not even the blanket shifts when you look her way. Her breath has grown so soft, it's hard to tell whether it's still happening at all. The city hasn't changed. The air still smells like iron and cabbage. Someone is sobbing outside, not loud, just steady, like a faucet. It's someone forgot to turn off. You stare at the ceiling. Cracks run across the plaster like veins. You trace them with your eyes until they blur. You haven't lost another tooth, not yet, but you keep checking. You rise, stretch, and wince as your spine pops like old wood. There's no point in delaying. Today, like yesterday, will come whether you're ready or not. You wash your face with cold water from a basin that's already been used by at least 3 neighbors. It's cloudy with soap and someone's leftover shame. You splash it on your cheeks anyway. A shiver runs down your arms. You hope it will wake something up inside you. It doesn't. The air outside is even colder today, but clearer. For a few hours, Paris almost looks clean. The sky is pale and colored. Your breath ghosts in front of you like a reminder you are still here. Still breathing, still not enough. A woman in red crosses the street. She's wearing perfume so strong you can smell it from 5 paces away. It reminds you of cloves and lilac. She doesn't meet your eyes, but you notice her teeth. All of them too white, too straight, too perfect. You wonder whose teeth she's smiling with. You wonder if they know. You keep walking. You're not sure where to go today, so you drift. Past the old tannery. Past the bakery that never has anything for free. Past a dead cat curled in the gutter like it's napping. You nearly trip over a man's boot sticking out from under a stack of hay in an alley. You don't check if he's breathing. Not your business. You head toward the quieter streets, the ones with wooden signs painted in Latin and windows too clean to be local. Your boots echo more here. It feels like walking through a museum. Everything polished, everything practiced. That's when you see him. Same hat, same coat, the man from the soup shop. He's standing just off Rue Saint. Antoine, one hand tucked behind his back, the other gesturing to a woman in a bonnet. She's older, pale. You can't hear what he's saying, but she's nodding slowly, tiredly. Then he hands her something, a cloth bundle. She opens it just enough for you to glimpse what's inside. Pliers. A vial of something clear, a coin. She doesn't even flinch. He places a hand on her shoulder too gently for the transaction. Then she turns and walks away, clutching the cloth like it's a gift. The man sees you watching and smiles. This time you don't look away. He walks over, slow, casual, as if you're old friends meeting again on a pleasant morning. Still got your molar, he says. You nod. You don't want to, but you do. Good, he says. Hold on to it. You eye the cloth in his hand. Are you a dentist? You ask. He smiles wider. What does that mean, really? You don't answer. You're not sure there is one. He lifts the cloth. Inside, you see more than tools. You see small vials, rags, string, what might be laudanum, what might be something worse. Not everyone wants them pulled out screaming, he says, as if justifying it to himself. Some folks like to sleep through the pain or sleep through the choice. You feel something cold inside your chest, not fear exactly, something quieter, something shaped like memory. Do they know what they're trading? You ask. He looks away, shrugs. They know what they've lost, he says. Same thing in the end. That evening, you walk home through Rue des Lombards. The bells from Saint. Jack toll 7 times. You pass a girl selling plums, even though it's winter. She's missing her front teeth. Not from theft, you can tell, but from hunger. She bites into a plum anyway. You hear the sound, a soft crack. She winces, keeps chewing. Some pain is easier to ignore than others. At home, your mother is still alive, still humming in her sleep. You sit beside her, holding the clove paste jar in one hand and your jaw in the other. The jar is half empty now. You think of the man, of the cloth bundle, of the woman who took it like a blessing. You think of Etienne and his swollen jaw and vacant eyes, and you wonder, what does it cost to be useful in a city that only values you when you're already falling apart? You lie down again, not because you're tired, but because the light is gone, and because no one comes for you when you're lying still. You don't sleep deeply anymore. The city won't allow it. There's always something scratching at the edge of your rest, a noise, a memory, the soft press of dread behind your eyes. Paris hums even at night, as if the streets dream too. Though their dreams are worse than yours, you wake just before dawn. There's barely light, just a gray hush leaking through the shutters. It's the kind of hour where even the rats are too tired to move. Your mouth feels dry again, but the toothache is dulled for now. Your mother hasn't stirred. You touch her wrist, it's warm. She breathes. The hum is louder today, deeper in her throat, like something blooming. You dress without sound, slipping your feet into stiff boots and tucking the jar of clove paste into your coat. You still don't know where you're going, only that staying still feels dangerous, not because of what might come, but because of what might not. The streets near the river are already stirring. Vendors drag crates through sludge, shouting half-hearted greetings at each other. You hear laughter, sharp and hollow. A man is pulling a wooden cart with something wrapped in cloth. You think it's fish until you see the foot sticking out. No one looks twice. A city used to rot learns not to flinch. You drift toward the Isle de la Cite. The cathedral towers above you like a warning. The stone is blackened by decades of smoke and ash. You don't remember it ever being clean. Near the gates of the Hotel Dieu, you pause. The chalkboard has changed. The extraction list has grown. You read the names. Some are children. Some are simply marked unclaimed. You step inside, not out of bravery, not even out of need, but because sometimes looking is all that's left. The hospital smells like oil, linen, and teeth, not breath but the bone itself, damp, cracked, gone to ruin. You walk slowly past the wards. Beds are just mats on the floor. The patients lie in rows like forgotten prayers. A nun passes you. She nods faintly. Her hands are stained brown betadine, maybe blood. You stop beside one patient, a boy, barely 10. His face is swollen, jaw bandaged tight. His eyes are closed, but his fingers twitch. You wonder if he's dreaming. You wonder if he'll remember what was taken from him, or if he ever agreed. You move on. In the back of the hall, separated by a cloth curtain, is the operating space. You hear the scrape of metal on wood. The sound of spitting. A man groans. Then a crack. You flinch, but no one else does. The curtain parts. A woman steps out, pale, dazed, holding her jaw with one hand and a dirty rag in the other. She doesn't cry. She doesn't speak. She simply walks until she disappears. Then another goes in. You stand by the wall, barely breathing. A man in a red apron sees you. You hear for the list. He asks. You shake your head. You should be, he says. They pay better this week. Polish embassies in town need nice bicuspids for the envoy's mistress. You stare. He doesn't flinch. He scratches his beard and grins. It's the nobles I feel bad for, he says. They keep buying second-hand smiles, but they can't chew with them. He laughs. It's not cruel, just tired. They always forget what teeth are actually for. You nod, though you don't know why. There's nothing left to say. Later that day, you return to Rue de l'Arbre Sec. The alley is narrower than you remember. You pass the same vendor selling combs and jars of mystery salve. A thin boy is digging through refuse with a broken broom handle. He doesn't look up. You spot the man again, the one with the soft hat and the bundle of tools. This time he's not whispering to strangers. He's sitting alone near a corner, peeling a pear with a small blade. He waves you over. Sit. He says, you do, not because you trust him, but because something about his voice is less sharp today. He passes you a slice. You don't take it. He shrugs. Suit yourself. For a while, neither of you speaks. Then he sighs. They're going to run out, he says. The teeth, at this rate. You glance over. They've already run out. He chuckles. True enough. You ask him what happens next when the poor run out. He says, they start harvesting the dead, then the almost dead, then each other. He looks at you, not cruelly, just knowingly. They already have. That night, your mother coughs in her sleep. You spoon broth into her mouth. She doesn't wake. Her lips twitch, but she doesn't swallow. The cloth you use to wipe her chin comes away streaked with red. You check her mouth. The swelling is worse. The tooth that was loose. The next morning, you do something foolish. You go looking for answers. Not the kind you can raid on a wall or buy in a jar. Not even the kind people admit to knowing. You're looking for the sort of answer that hides inside silence. The kind people are afraid to say out loud because it feels too close to something shameful or familiar. You tuck the clove jar in your coat, again habit now. Like carrying a weapon you'll never use, and you head east, toward the Rue de l'Université. Not your part of Paris, not even close. The buildings are taller here. The air smells of coal, not rot. The puddles reflect the sky without a film of grease. You don't belong, and everyone knows it. Even the horses seem cleaner. You find the address written in charcoal on the back of a market receipt, handed to you quietly by the man with the soft hat and stained fingers. He hadn't said what you'd find, only this. You asked who profits, go here. So you do. You arrive at a house that's more stone than home, 3 stories, red shutters. A brass knocker shaped like a lion's head, though its teeth are worn smooth. You knock once, no answer, you try the latch. It opens inside, silence, thick and warm, like velvet left in a drawer too long. You step carefully across a carpet that feels too soft for boots like yours. A woman appears at the end of the hall, pale, in a pale dress. She doesn't smile. Appointment, she asks. You shake your head. Referral, you nod. She studies you. Her gaze rests briefly on your jaw. Then she gestures. Upstairs, first door. You climb. The stairs don't creak. That's how you know this place has money. You push open the door. The room inside smells like mint and varnish, and something else, the sharp sweetness of decay, carefully disguised. A man sits at a long table lined with boxes. Polished wooden boxes. He's brushing a set of false teeth with a soft cloth. Carefully, tenderly, like someone handling ivory, you stare. He doesn't look up. Name, he says. You hesitate. I'm not here for a name, he repeats. You give your first name, nothing more. He nods, still polishing, upper or lower. I'm not here to buy. He finally looks up and smiles. His own teeth are porcelain, flawless, cold. Of course you're not. He says, you're here to understand. He pushes a box toward you, opens it. Inside dozens of teeth, real ones, sorted by size, shade, and root length, tidy as piano keys. These, he says, are from the provinces, harvested legally. You glance up. Legally, he nods. Convicts, unclaimed corpses, soldiers, anyone who signed away their rights, which these days is nearly everyone. He opens another box. These are cleaner, whiter. These came from prisons, not always voluntarily. And then a third. These, he says, tapping the edge, are the most expensive. Fresh, urban, good mouths, nourished, no decay. You don't ask whose mouths, you already know. He continues polishing, almost affectionately. They want to look perfect, the aristocrats, he says, especially now. Revolution makes people self-conscious. You can't lecture on liberty if your teeth are crooked. He chuckles to himself. Even Robespierre had his molars replaced, and he was still a lawyer then. You stare at the tiny teeth in the velvet-lined tray. You sell them. You ask. He shakes his head. I curate them. You don't know what that means, but you don't ask. Some knowledge isn't worth sharpening. He lifts one tooth delicately. Every one of these was someone's. They meant something. Bit into something. Hurt. Then he drops it back into the tray. Now they're ornaments. You don't say thank you or goodbye. You just leave, and somehow that feels right. Outside, the wind has picked up. It carries the cold across the bridges and into the windows of people who have never once lost something they couldn't name. You walk for a long time, until the grand streets shrink back into alleys, until the stone becomes soot, streaked again, until the smell of varnish becomes the smell of boiled socks and fear. You pass the church en route. By now, you don't expect much when you wake. Just breathe, maybe warmth, hopefully no blood. That's the morning ritual, checking for pain before you even open your eyes. Today, it's different. There's something at the door. You hear it before you see it, a soft knock. Not demanding, not impatient, just steady, like rain that doesn't care if you answer. You rise, careful not to wake your mother. Her breath is faint. Her skin has gone gray in places, like ash that won't wipe off. You open the door slowly, nothing. Then you look down, a bundle, wrapped in brown cloth, small, roughly the size of a loaf, but not heavy enough. You bring it inside. You unfold the corners like you're handling something fragile. Inside, a note written in charcoal. It's cleaner if you do it early. And beneath that, tucked in a square of linen, a tooth, white, smooth, fresh, yours. No. You check your mouth, heart hammering. All still present. You stare at the tooth. It looks peaceful, as if it never knew it belonged to anyone, as if it has no memory of warmth or laughter or the sweet, sour pull of plum skin. You rewrap it and place it beneath the cot. Far beneath, where you don't have to look at it. That day, the sky feels lower than usual. It presses down on the roofs, the spires, the stalls. It presses into your chest. You walk like someone trying not to wake a sleeping city, though Paris has no such state. Even its silences throb. You head toward the riverside again, but not for the view. There's something strange in knowing too much. It doesn't free you. It makes the world smaller, tighter, like all the exits have been sealed. You stop at the bridge where the washerwomen beat linens against stone. You watch the suds spiral into the current, carried away like secrets too cheap to keep. A boy passes with a basket, covered, heavy. You know better now than to ask. At a stall nearby, a man sells spoons, polished ones, silver, if the sign is to be believed. You wonder if the teeth he lost paid for them, or if someone else paid on his behalf. He catches your gaze, smiles, 3 teeth missing, just enough to make you believe he got the better deal. Later, you sit outside a butcher's shop, not for the meat that's beyond you, but for the steam that leaks from the cracks in the windows. It smells like marrow and salt, It smells like memory. The man beside you offers a cigarette. You take it, not because you smoke, but because it's something to do with your hands. He doesn't speak at first. Then, you seen the new list. You nod. He rubs a tooth with his thumb. They added kids, officially. You wait. They're saying if the parent signs, it's not a crime. You don't reply. You already know. He stares off, eyes pale and wide. I gave mine 3 for my sister. She had fever, I thought. He doesn't finish. You offer back the cigarette. He shakes his head. You drop it between your boots and watch the ember fade. That night, your mother opens her eyes, just for a moment. She doesn't speak, doesn't move her hands, but her gaze meets yours, and you wonder, does she know about the note, about the tooth, about what's waiting just outside your sleep? She closes her eyes again. Her breath rasps in and out like a thread through worn fabric. You hold her hand. It's dry and weightless, like paper left too long in the sun. You want to tell her something, but you don't know what. So instead, you just sit and watch the shadows climb the wall like they're trying to leave the city without being seen. Later, you lie awake. You hear footsteps on the stairs. Soft, deliberate, you know that rhythm. The ones who steal don't run. They don't rush. They walk like they belong because no one will stop them. You grip your jaw tight, just in case. You keep your eyes closed, just in case. And when the steps pause outside your door, you don't move, not even to breathe. There's no knock this time, just stillness. Then, retreating, you wait a long time before you open your eyes again. In the morning, it rains. Not hard, just enough to smear the soot down the walls and turn the alleys into cold soup. Paris looks grayer when it rains, like the buildings are trying to disappear without anyone noticing. You sit by the window, watching the drips collect on the sill. 1, 2, then another. They fall from a crack in the roof, straight into the bowl you've placed there. A soft rhythm, almost musical. You check your teeth. Still there, still yours for now. Your mother hasn't opened her eyes again, but she's still breathing. That's what you count now. Not hours, not coins, not steps, just breaths. The ones that come, and the long, aching gaps between. You don't go out right away. You wait. There's something about wet cobblestones that makes the city feel older, more brittle, as if the ghosts might peek through if you aren't careful. Then, just before noon, there's a knock. Not the soft kind. A letter has been shoved under the door. You stare at it. There's no wax seal, no return name, just a scrap of paper, damp at the edges, folded 3 times and stained with something the color of rust. You pick it up slowly, open it. 3 words. Etienne is alive. You sit down hard. The floor is still damp from the morning rain that crept in under the door. You don't feel it. You barely feel anything. Your fingers tighten around the paper like it might vanish if you blink. Etienne alive. That name hits differently now. You saw him last at the Hotelia, his eyes unfocused, his cheeks swollen, his mouth packed with rags. He hadn't moved, not even when you said his name. You'd assumed. Well, everyone assumes something, don't they? But someone thinks he's breathing. Someone sent this note, and someone somewhere wants you to know. You don't know why that terrifies you more than it comforts you. You leave your mother with the clove jar, a basin of water, and a blanket you warmed over the stove. She doesn't wake. You kiss her forehead anyway. Her skin is cooler than it should be. On the street, the rain has softened into a mist. It clings to your sleeves, to your eyelashes. The world feels half. Erased, you head toward the Hotelia. Not inside, just near enough to listen. The extraction ward has shifted. There are new workers. You recognize no one. A red-haired woman washes blood from her hands in a tin basin. She's humming. The same tune you once heard from your mother long ago when she braided your hair with shaking fingers. You don't ask about it, Yen. You already know what they'll say, that they have no record, no file, no face to attach to the name. You're not here for answers. You're here for a trail, and you find it 2 streets over. At a soup stall, one the sick frequent, the man ladling broth nods at your question. Boy with the bad jaw, haven't seen him since they moved him. You ask where. He jerks his chin toward the edge of town. The hospice, the quiet one. He doesn't say more, doesn't need to. You know the place. They don't send people there to recover. They send them to be forgotten. It takes you the rest of the afternoon to walk there. Past where the cobblestones end, past where the oil lamps grow thin, past where even the tooth thieves don't bother checking anymore. The hospice is a squat, low building. Mold creeps up its side. The gate hangs loose on one hinge. There's no sign, just a smell old wool, salt, and something beneath that's harder to name. You knock. A nun answers. She looks at you for a long moment, then steps aside. You don't ask permission. You don't need it. Inside, the beds are lined in rows, narrow and close. No one speaks. Most don't move. You walk quietly, scanning faces, sunken cheeks, swollen jaws, eyes half open but empty. One man's mouth is stitched shut. Another chews his own sleeve. Then, near the back, you stop, because there he is. Etienne, alive, not well, but alive. He's thinner, hair tangled, eyes darting. But when he sees you, something behind his face shifts. He doesn't smile, but his shoulders twitch like they want to. You kneel, you say his name, once, twice. He blinks, then says yours. You sit with him for a long time. No one interrupts. No one even watches. Eventually, he lifts a trembling hand and points to his jaw. You understand, only 5 left, the rest taken, not all at once, bit, by different hands, different nights. You ask if he remembers them. He nods. You ask if he told anyone. He looks away, then pulls something from beneath his cot. A paper, folded, your name scrawled across it, shaky, smudged. You don't ask how he found you. You only ask one thing. Why me? He whispers something then. You lean in, closer, and still, you don't quite catch it. That night, you sit in the street again, same stone, same lamp, flickering weakly in the mist. You think of Etienne, of the teeth that are no longer his, of the letter that brought you back to him. You wonder who wrote it, who watched, who remembered. You wonder how many mouths have been opened in this city without permission, and how many stayed open, screaming after the teeth were gone. You touch your own jaw, still there, still aching, still yours for now. But that is a story for tomorrow night. The Seine smells different in the early morning. It always has less like water, more like iron, a breath caught in the throat of the city. The bridges arch like ribs, ribs of something too old to wake. You stand there anyway, just beneath the Ponto change, where the shadows linger longer and the rats stay fat. Someone is shouting a prayer 2 streets over. Someone else is singing about bread they don't have. You're not listening, you're watching the river, because someone pulled a body from it just before dawn. You weren't the only one to see it. There were 3 dockhands, a fishmonger's son, and a tooth broker. The last one left quickly, his boots too clean for this part of Paris. But you stayed. The body wasn't whole. The water softens people, washes away names. It was a woman, maybe 30, pale, swollen, tangled in weeds. But it wasn't her dress that held your eye, it was her mouth, wrenched wide, not empty, not like Etienne's or your mother's. Worse, stuffed with teeth, dozens of them, jammed between her cheeks, her lips torn to fit them all. As if someone was trying to fill her with all the mouths that had been taken. No one spoke, not at first. Then the fishmonger's boy vomited, and the silence broke. You stayed longer than you should have. until they pulled her fully onto the dock, laid her out, began arguing over jurisdiction. Suicide. One man muttered, murder. Another said, too loudly, but you knew better, because that wasn't death. That was a message. You just didn't know for who. You walk home slowly. Each step feels heavier now. The world doesn't look different, but it feels like it should. Pigeons still pick at crumbs. A baker still slaps dough against a wooden table. A noblewoman's carriage passes, wheels slick with morning mud. But all you see are teeth. They're everywhere now. The girl selling apples, she's missing a side molar. The butcher has a new gold one too clean for a man who hasn't bathed in weeks. The child crying in the alley, blood at the corner of her mouth, but no visible wound. You didn't used to notice. You do now. You find the man with the soft hat again. He's in a different alley this time, trading a bottle for something wrapped in cloth. You don't wait. You step out of the shadows. Was it you? You ask. He doesn't flinch. He sets the bottle down, brushes his coat. Witch it, he says. You describe the woman, her mouth, the teeth. His gaze drifts. That wasn't me, he says, voice quiet, but it was a message. You press. He nods slowly. A warning from someone who's had enough. Enough what? He looks at you fully now. Silence. You sit beside him on the curb. For once, he doesn't offer you a tooth joke or a riddle. He just takes out a folded paper and hands it over. A list. Names. Some you recognize, neighbors, street vendors, even the red-haired woman from the hospital. Some crossed out. Some marked with a single word beside them. Gone. Gone where? You ask. He doesn't answer. You ask again. He only shrugs, but his silence says enough. That night, your mother doesn't open her eyes. You place a hand on her chest, still moving, barely. You press the jar of clove paste to her lips, but she doesn't flinch, not even to refuse. You whisper to her, not words, just sound, the same hum she used to give you when fevers burned your bones. You hum it back, low and unsteady, as if she might recognize the shape of it, or remember who you used to be. Later, you sit by the window. Paris hasn't stopped. The bells ring for mass, but fewer go. The smell of roasted chestnuts carries over from the market. Someone is whistling a lullaby with the wrong notes. You reach into your coat pocket. The folded note is still there. Etienne is alive. You turn it over again, and notice something you hadn't before. Pressed faintly into the corner, barely visible, a symbol. Not a name, not a place, just a shape, a jawbone, drawn in ash. You stare at it long into the night, because somehow you know you'll see it again. You don't know how you slept, but you wake with the shape still in your hand, the faint jawbone symbol drawn in ash, pressed into paper like a secret someone hoped you wouldn't notice until you did. It smudges your fingers when you touch it again. You don't know what it means, but you know where to go. The man with the soft hat told you once, if you ever need the truth, follow the walls beneath the wine. You didn't understand then. You do now. The catacombs, not the ones on the maps. Not the tourist tombs where bones are stacked neatly like books on a shelf. No, he meant the older passages. The ones so forgotten they don't even echo right. The ones beneath the wine warehouses in the 14th arrondissement. You've never been there, but you've heard the stories. People say the air down there bites your teeth first. You pack nothing, you take no food. No coin, no comfort, only a candle stub and a piece of charcoal from your stove. You don't expect to get far or come back, but your jaw aches again and your sleep is thinner now. That's reason enough. You reach the edge of the city by midday. The wine merchants' cellars are almost quiet this time of year. The barrels rest in rows like sleeping giants. Men roll them past you without asking questions. You slip through a gap in the wall behind one of the warehouses. The bricks give way to stone, then dirt, then cold. The first thing you notice is the sound, or the lack of it. No birds, no bells, no street noise. Just a long, shallow breath from the earth itself. The tunnels are older than Paris, older than the Romans. They weren't meant to hold bones, but the city had to put its dead somewhere, and the dead. Never minded, you follow the walls, just like he said. The stones are marked in places chalk lines, strange etchings, initials smoothed by time, and then, after the third turn, you see it, the jawbone symbol. Drawn in soot, crooked and small, but real, it points left. You follow, another mark, fainter, then another. Each turn leads you deeper, not just into the earth, but into a silence so thick it tastes metallic on your tongue. You pass stacked bones, not pretty ones, not arranged like art, just tossed, some broken, some child-sized. You don't look too long. Eventually you reach a chamber, small, uneven inside, 6 figures, sitting in a circle. No candles, no voices, only teeth, dozens of them, piled in the center like an offering. You step closer. The air is colder here, like the breath of someone who stopped hoping a long time ago. One of them turns, a woman, thin, face lined like bark, but eyes sharp. You're late. She says, you blink, you know me. She shakes her head, no, but I know your mother. That stops you. You step into the room. She gestures for you to sit. You do. The floor is damp. You don't mind. What is this? You ask. She picks up a tooth from the pile, holds it between her thumb and forefinger. This, she says, is what they built the new city on. She tosses it back. Not stone, not coin, just what they could take without permission. The others don't speak, but one, a boy, maybe 14, begins drawing something in the dust with a stick. A set of teeth, then a mouth, then a face with no eyes. You stare at it. The woman watches you. They don't want the poor to speak. She says, they just want their smile. You think of Etienne. You think of your mother, of the woman pulled from the Seine, of yourself, waking up every day and checking if you're still whole. She hands you something wrapped in cloth. Heavy, you open it. More teeth, but these are different. They're marked, etched faintly with letters, numbers, some with lines like tally marks. These are names, she says, lives. She looks at you, and yours is next. You swallow, my tooth. She nods, not because of rot, not because of gold, because you noticed. You touch your jaw, still there. Still aching? Why tell me? You ask. She leans closer, because silence is what kept it going, and silence is what breaks first. Later, they lead you out. No map, no torch, just memory. The walls feel narrower on the way back. The ceiling lower. You don't look over your shoulder, even though you want to. When you reach the surface again, the air feels wrong. Too bright, too loud, too fast. Paris hasn't changed, but you have. At home, your mother is still breathing. You sit beside her again, but this time you hold her hand and say nothing, because now you know how much silence can say. But that is a story for tomorrow night. It begins with smoke, not thick, not fast, just a soft gray smear rising behind the cathedral, too calm to be an accident. You watch it from your window, barely awake. The streets below you ripple with murmurs before the bells ring. And even when they do, no one runs. Paris doesn't rush to a fire. It waits to see whose fire it is. You wrap your coat around you and slip outside, careful not to wake your mother. She's still breathing shallow and slow, like the tide going out. The sky smells like coal and old parchment. By the time you reach the square, the flames have already swallowed part of the roof above the bishop's house. The church itself is untouched, but barely. Someone is shouting about prayers. Someone else is selling water in buckets, 2 sous for holy, 1 for plain. And there, in the crowd, you see it, drawn on the side of the well with a lump of char, the jawbone symbol. You blink. It wasn't there yesterday. You press through the smoke-stained crowd, following the shape as it appears again and again, carved into a wooden cart, smeared on the side of a stall, etched in wax on the corner of a broken prayer candle. It's not just in the catacombs anymore. It's here, above ground, in daylight. You stop at the edge of the square, near a line of cloaked figures, watching the fire with flat expressions. They aren't firefighters. They aren't praying. They're just present. One of them turns, a girl, no older than you were when the tooth pain first started. She nods once, then disappears into the crowd. You don't follow, because you already understand. This isn't a warning anymore. It's a reckoning. By mid-morning, the fire is out, but the smell lingers. Burnt wood, wet plaster, and beneath that old dust, like the kind clinging to catacomb walls. You walk home slowly, watching the ash fall like confetti after a parade no one asked for. At your door, something waits. A wrapped bundle. Not teeth this time. Paper. You unfold it on the kitchen table. Dozens of names. Some crossed out. Others marked with that now familiar symbol. Next to your mother's name, a circle. Not crossed, not marked, just watched. You stare at it for a long time. Then fold the paper again and tuck it under the hearthstones. That night, your mother wakes. For only a moment. She blinks up at you like she doesn't know where she is. Or who you are. Then she reaches for your hand. Her fingers are cold. Her mouth opens but not to speak. Just to show you something. The new gap. 1 more tooth is gone. You don't ask who took it. You already know it wasn't you. And it wasn't her, but someone came, again, without a sound. You lie awake long after her eyes close, listening. There's a softness in the walls now, like the stones are remembering something. You press your hand to your jaw. Still yours, still aching. You think about the fire, about the girl in the crowd, about the names, the marks, the circle beside your mother's, and you wonder, what happens when the watchers stop watching? What happens when they begin to act? confession doesn't arrive like thunder. It arrives like morning fog, soft, creeping, unavoidable. You don't plan on hearing anything. You just meant to buy bread, the usual stall, the same woman. She doesn't speak, never has. But today, she hands you the loaf with a different look, one that sits somewhere between apology and warning. And then she gives you a folded paper, no seal, just your name smudged faintly in charcoal. You walk home with it under your coat, feeling it like a second heartbeat. You wait until your mother is asleep again, breath rattling faintly. Jaw slack now in a way you don't like, and you open it. Inside is a confession, not addressed to you, but meant for you. It's a man's writing, sharp, clumsy, rushed. He signs only his first initial, C. He says he was one of them, not one who stole teeth. One who tracked them, marked the mouths that were worth something, took notes in church pews, in bathhouses, in waiting rooms. He says he stopped when a girl choked on her own blood in front of him. She had laughed too hard. The stitches in her gums split. She died trying to cough up silence. He doesn't say her name. He says that's the part that broke him, that he never even asked. You fold the paper once, twice, 3 times. You don't cry. You're not surprised. You're only tired. You sit at the table with the clove jar between your hands. The bottom is nearly dry. The wax rim smells faintly of winter apples and rot. Your mother hasn't asked for it in days. You wonder how many teeth you've helped numb, just enough to make them easier to take, even without meaning to, even with good intentions. That's the trick of it, isn't it? Harm doesn't always need malice. Just neglect. That afternoon Etienne comes to you. You're not sure how he found the strength, but he does. He knocks once, and when you open the door he doesn't say anything. He just looks past you to your mother. Then he steps inside, he sits beside her, takes her hand, she doesn't stir, but she doesn't pull away. He turns to you, points to his own mouth, he shows you 2 more gone. But that's not what he came for. He reaches into his coat and pulls out something wrapped in rags. You open it carefully, not teeth, a book, old, thin, bound in worn leather inside a list, not names this time, addresses, hospitals. Poorhouses, churches, places where teeth are easier to take. Some are marked with symbols, some with prices, some with nothing but a single letter. W. You look at him. What's that mean? He touches his temple. Then his jaw, then his temple again. You understand, willing. People so desperate they gave their pain away with their names still attached. That night you walk, not for errands, not to follow, just to feel the stones beneath your feet. Paris feels emptier somehow, not in numbers, but in presence. Like it's forgotten what it means to care. You stop at the river. The moon cuts through the water like a blade. You sit on the same bench where they found the stuffed woman. No one talks about her anymore. Maybe they never did. You take out the book, and for the first time, you circle a name, not because you want revenge, not because you're angry, because you need to know how far the silence goes. And who it leaves behind. You tear that page out, fold it, place it in your pocket, and walk home quietly, mouth closed tight, eyes open, and now, more than ever, you understand what it means to lose something that was once part of you. But that is a story for tomorrow night. You don't go right away. The paper sits in your pocket for 3 days, folded, flattened, warmed by your hand when you're nervous, stained now by clove oil and the sweat of hesitation. You study the name when no one's looking, Madeline Vile. The book listed her under the W. Willing, a woman who gave her teeth on purpose, or so they say. She lives or lived near the Rue des Ursulines. That's the quiet part of Paris. Not poor, not rich. Just tired, forgotten enough that no one asks questions when someone disappears. On the 4th morning, after you check your mother's breath slower now, and gurgling faintly like wet cloth, you leave the paper on the table beside her. Just in case, and then you go. The street smells like boiled cabbage and lamp oil. Laundry hangs limp between buildings, dripping onto the cobblestones below. A child shouts at pigeons. A man curses softly about boots too tight for feet that keep growing. You find her building at the end of the row, narrow, stone chipping at the corners. A wooden door painted green, once now mostly peeled down to splinters. You knock, nothing. You knock again, still nothing. You try the handle, it gives. Inside, the air smells old. Not just dusty, not abandoned, used, recently. A low fire burns in the corner stove. Coals only, no flame. A kettle rests on top empty, but warm. You step gently, your breath catching in the stillness. It feels wrong to speak, even to think loudly. She appears before you do. A woman, maybe 50, eyes sharp, mouth shut tight. She watches you like you're not quite real. Then you're early. You blink. You expected me. I didn't say that. She walks past you and sits at the table. Her chair creaks. She gestures to the other one. You sit. The silence between you is thicker than smoke. She pours 2 cups of nothing from an empty kettle and places one in front of you anyway. Tell me what you want. She says. You hesitate. Then, why did you give your teeth? She doesn't flinch. She takes a long breath. Then taps her jaw twice with a fingertip. Because I was tired of begging. She leans forward. Because they told me the pain would end when the teeth were gone, and I was young enough to believe them. She opens a small box beside the stove. Inside, a set of dentures. Porcelain, thin as eggshell, etched with faint gold around the molars. They gave me these, she says, voice flat, for free, for silence. You don't ask more. You don't need to. You look around, there's no one else here. No children, no pictures, no names written on walls. Just this woman and the absence of everything else. You swallow hard. Did they ask you, or tell you? She finally looks at you. Is there a difference when you're hungry? She walks to the window, her profile carved from shadow. They don't come to us in masks, she says. They come as priests, as doctors, as help. She touches the sill. I had 1 bad tooth, that's all. But they said if they took 5, I'd never feel pain again. You wait, and I didn't, not in my mouth, but everywhere else, yes. She turns back to you. You're not asking just for me, are you? You shake your head. My mother, my friend, me. She nods once, then points to the fire. Then you need to speak to the one who started this, not the ones who followed it. You ask, who? Her lips curl, but not in a smile. The man who signs the approvals. Your breath catches, his name. She doesn't say it. She writes it. 1 word, scraped onto the wooden table with a knife tip. Danton. You leave quietly. Not because you're afraid. Because you understand that the further you go, the heavier the silence becomes. And you're already carrying more than your share. Back home, Etienne is waiting on the stoop. He doesn't speak. Just raises an eyebrow. You hand him the name, he nods, then he draws a symbol in the dirt beside his foot. Not the jawbone this time. A scale, tipped, unbalanced, you stare at it, then at your own hands, then at the street. Because now you understand this was never just about teeth. It was about power, about what people take when no one can bite back.
Labi jāskaidrs. Tu tā stāv kā čurā, ķipa, vīrietis. Paklusēt vajag vienalga.
The name follows you, Danton, not a full address, not a title, just the name carved into soft wood, like it had always lived there waiting to be read. You wake before the sun the next morning, not from noise. Not from a dream, just the quiet pressure of knowing something has shifted. Your mother is still breathing, barely, her lips dry, her cheek sunken just enough to make the missing teeth show. The clove paste doesn't help any more. Neither does the boiled barley water. There's no cure for what's being stolen one piece at a time. You tuck the blanket higher on her chest gently. Then you leave. You ask for the name like it's a prayer. Low voice, careful lips, a whisper between cobblestones. Danton, not many react, but a few flinch. You don't miss it. A street peddler gestures with her chin toward a side alley near Rue Saint-Antoine. Bookseller, she mutters, second floor. Bookseller, she shrugs. That's what he calls himself. Doesn't mean he sells books. You find the place by smell before sight. Burnt paper, candle wax, and old ink. The shop is narrow with crooked shelves and more dust than binding. A rusted bell tinkles when you push the door. No one inside, you wait. Then a voice from above, looking for history or hiding from it. You look up. A man leans over the railing from the second floor, his sleeves rolled, ink stains on his wrist. He doesn't look like a thief, or a butcher, or a doctor. He looks like a clerk. Someone who spent too many years watching the world happen from behind a desk. You clear your throat. I'm looking for Danton. He raises an eyebrow. And what have you lost? Teeth. You say. He doesn't blink. Just turns and disappears back into the upstairs dark. You follow. The stairs creak, the light shifts. It smells like damp parchment and forgotten regrets. The room above is cramped, filled with papers, bones, and sealed jars. Some hold teeth, some hold ink, some you hope are just dust. He doesn't look at you. He's arranging papers by size. You speak. You sign the approvals. He nods, still not looking up. I processed them, yes. Why? Because pain needs paperwork, apparently. You step closer. Do you know what they did? He stops moving, then sits. Finally looks at you. You think I don't. He says, voice soft. I catalogued it all. Every extraction, every mouth, every refusal, every silence. I have records of children with half a smile. Women who couldn't say no fast enough. Old men who didn't wake up. Then why didn't you stop it? He doesn't answer. Just holds up a list. Your mother's name is there. So is Etienne's. So is yours. Because they stopped listening the moment it stopped hurting them. You sit. Your knees feel weak. He pours tea from a pot that hasn't steamed in hours. Doesn't offer sugar, just silence. Then he speaks again. I didn't invent the theft. I just recorded it, but maybe that's worse. He passes you a folder. You open it. Inside, maps of Paris, but not streets. Not districts, teeth routes, paths from hospitals to buyers. Notes about carriages, nuns, surgeons. Symbols on doors, marks near wells, the same jawbone shape, and others, an eye, a flame, a cracked cup. What are these? You ask. He shrugs. Watchers, traders, burners, each group with a job. And you. I was the ledger. You don't stay long. He tells you one more thing before you go. If you want it to stop, don't take it to the law. Take it to the poor. They're the ones bleeding. You step out into the light again, blinking. It's mid-afternoon. Paris hums as usual. Someone yells about fresh pears. Someone spits near your feet, but the wind feels different now. It cuts. Because now you know just how deep the roots go, and that they were written down by men who never pulled a single tooth themselves, but watched and counted and smiled. That night, you burned the folder, not out of fear, but to keep it from becoming just another relic someone might mistake for fiction. Etienne watches the flames. He nods once, then takes out the book of names again. There's one left. Unmarked, not crossed, not circled, just waiting. You tear that page out quietly and say nothing, because now you've learned what silence can do. It starts with a feeling, not fear, not exactly, more like the heaviness you feel before a storm, when the air isn't dangerous yet just thick with something unsaid. You wake to silence again, but not the comforting kind. Not the soft, sleepy hush of early morning. This one is sharp, too quiet. Your mother's breath still there, but Etienne gone, no note. Just his coat folded on the stool and a single tooth left on the windowsill. Still wet, still warm. You leave before the city wakes. The streets are empty but twitching as if something is hiding beneath the cobblestones, ready to spill. You follow the chalk marks you memorized long ago. The ones that lead down, not the wide catacombs where tourists take candles and feel brave. The older ones, the real ones, where Paris buried what it didn't want to face. The stone swallows you. The light disappears before you expect it to. You don't bring a lantern. You don't need one. The path is remembered in your hands now, every twist, every broken stair, every cold trickle of groundwater between your boots. You reach the first chamber. The one with the circle, where they used to gather, where you were first told the truth, but this time it's empty, no woman with bark-lined skin, no boy drawing mouths in dust, just the bones and something carved into the center of the floor. A symbol, not the jawbone, a mouth, split wide, split open, as if screaming or swallowing. You kneel beside it. The carving is fresh, still rough at the edges, done in haste. You touch the lines and feel something beneath them shift. A hand grabs your shoulder. You don't scream, you don't need to. It's Etienne. His eyes are wide, but not wild. He nods once, then leads you deeper, not toward the rooms you knew, deeper, a place they'd never shown you before. The walls are tighter. The air smells old and wrong, like rotten metal and something once living that should never have breathed. You hear it before you see it, a whisper, not words, just sound, the kind you feel in your molars. Then light a circle of candles, dozens, people, not dozens, hundreds, kneeling, silent, facing a wall, on the wall, another symbol, the same screaming mouth. Etienne pulls you into the shadows. You crouch beside him. And watch, a woman steps forward from the crowd. She holds a jar, not of teeth, of tongues, preserved in cloudy liquid. She sets it at the base of the wall, then opens her mouth. Her tongue is gone. The others do the same. One by one, tongueless, speechless, silent, but not weak. There's something powerful in the hush, not submission, defiance. They were the first victims, maybe, the ones no one believed. So they turned their silence into something sharp, into warning, into resistance, not with sound, but with symbols. Ritual, flame, Etienne leans close. They were taken before the trade began. He mouths, you stare, they remember. He mouths again, and you realize this isn't just a secret. It's a memory with teeth. You stay until the candles burn low. Then you step forward. You don't speak. You hold up the paper with the last name and place it beside the jar. The crowd sees. They nod. And just like that, they erase that name from the list, not with ink, with memory, gone, just like that. You return to the surface near sunrise. The streets are still quiet. But now the quiet feels different. More like a breath being held, waiting not for fire, not for blood, but for someone to finally say, no more. Back home your mother stirs. She looks at you clearly this time. No confusion, no glaze. Just knowing, she opens her mouth and shows you what remains. 3 teeth, nothing more, but she smiles, not with her mouth, with her eyes, because somehow she knows it's ending and that the silence has found its voice again. But that is a story for tomorrow night.
Labi, jā, skaidrs. Tu tā stāv kā čurā, ķipa. Vīrietis. Paklusēt vajag.
Paris listens differently on Sundays. It always has. The bells don't just ring, they echo, through stone, through bone, through memory. You walk the path to the church slowly, your feet almost unsure. Not because of fear, because you can feel the shift. Something is about to change. The steps are still worn from centuries of faithful feet. The pigeons still scatter the same way they always have. And the beggar near the door, he still hums the same tune you remember from childhood. But something's missing. You can't name it yet, only feel it, like the pressure in your jaw before a tooth loosens. You slip inside just after the second bell. It's warmer than you expect, packed, too many faces. Not enough sound, no prayers, no chants, no murmured confession, only breath and candlelight and silence. You find a place near the back. Press your hands together, not in prayer and grounding. The stone beneath your knees is cold, but steady. Etienne arrives beside you without a word. He doesn't nod, doesn't blink, just sits. You both wait. When the priest steps forward, there's no sermon, only a folded cloth in his hands. His robes are too clean. His jaw too stiff. You recognize him, one of the names, circled in the ledger. He clears his throat, and still no one speaks. He tries again. His voice catches. Then he removes the cloth. Inside, teeth. Dozens, all different, filed, marked, blackened with ash. He lays them on the altar, one by one, like communion. Then he says a single word, forgive. Someone in the front row laughs, soft, unkind. He falters, looks to the crowd, no mercy there, just watching, hundreds of eyes, some with gaps in their smiles, some with gold that shouldn't shine that clean, some with no mouths at all. A woman stands, old, bent. You remember her from the tunnels. She raises her hand, palm scarred, fingers stiff, and she signs something. 3 movements, slow, heavy. You don't need to know the symbols to understand. You are seen. You are known, you are not forgiven. The priest tries to speak again, but the bells ring, all of them. Not the hour, not a call to prayer, just sound, long, droning, relentless. The congregation rises as one. Not leaving, not praying, just standing. A wall of silence. A flood without water. He drops the cloth. It lands with a whisper. The teeth roll. Some fall from the altar and clatter on the stone. One stops near your foot. You don't pick it up. You step over it. Outside, Paris is changing. A boy paints the jawbone symbol on a bakery wall. A woman hangs a set of dentures from her doorframe like a warning. A man empties a jar of gold teeth into the Seine. The whispers are spreading, not loud, not violent, just consistent, like water through cracks, like rot beneath paint, like pain that has waited too long to be named. That night, your mother doesn't ask for the clove. She holds your hand instead. Her gums are swollen, but her face is calm. You don't speak, neither does she, but between your palms, you feel something like rest, like relief, like an ending is coming. Not a happy one, but an honest one, and sometimes that's enough. The morning after the teeth fell from the altar, Paris moved strangely, not slower, not louder, just sideways, as if the buildings were leaning in to hear what had been whispered too long. You stay indoors for once. Not out of fear, but because you're beginning to feel the weight of knowing. It settles in your bones like old lime mortar, cracked, but still holding. You sit beside your mother.
Тут оставка,
Her eyes are
чурайте.
open now, more often
Really?
than not. But not quite focused. She hums something under her breath, a lullaby, maybe. You remember the rhythm, but not the words. You hold her hand and wonder if it's too late to give her the truth. Not to fix what was stolen. Just to name it. Etienne knocks softly near dusk. You meet him outside. He's carrying something wrapped in linen, not teeth, not bones. Paper. You recognize it before he says anything, not from the catacombs. From the church's archive, one of the books they swore was destroyed in the flood of 62. He hands it to you. You need to see what stopped this. Once. You sit beneath a tree as the evening air thickens. The leaves above you click softly in the wind like tongues trying to speak. And you open the book. It's not long, only 30 pages. Most of it is logs, dates, requests, shipments. One line catches your eye. Teeth, human, 47 units delivered to Hospital de la Charite via Rue du Four. But it's not the teeth. It's the margin note, faded, scrawled in a different hand. Stop this. This is not healing. This is theft. The rest is smudged, except for the signature, just a single letter. L, you turn the page, taped to the back a letter. Written by hand, no seal, no flourish, just sorrow to whoever reads this after I'm gone. Please understand, I was a healer, I trained, I studied. I believed in the body's mysteries. But I have held more teeth in one hand than a child should lose in a lifetime, and still they ask for more. They come with coins, with papers, with orders. They do not ask whose teeth, just that they be white, whole, quiet. And I have stolen, I have stitched, I have told mothers their child's smile would grow back. I lied. I cannot do it any more. So I will hide this letter, and if you find it, do what I could not. Stop them. L. You sit there long after the sun fades, the book still open on your lap. You hear footsteps behind you, but you don't turn. You already know it's Etienne. He sits beside you, quiet. Then, do you think they tried? You nod. They wrote it down. And still it happened. You look up. The stars have started to show, but they feel farther away tonight. Colder, more like bone than fire. You whisper, what if telling the truth was never enough? He doesn't answer, because some questions are too old for words. Later that night, you return the book to the earth. Not the catacombs, not the fire. You bury it beneath the willow behind your mother's window. She watches you from her chair, doesn't ask why, just hums again, the same lullaby. You hum it too this time. For her, for the children whose names were never written, for the teeth that were taken and never given back, for the letter someone risked everything to write, and still it was drowned in dust.
Labi, jāskaidrs. Tu tā stāv kā čurā, ķipa, vīrietis. Paklusēt vajag vienalga.
The next morning arrives like a cough held too long. You don't open your eyes right away. You listen. A neighbor's boots scrape the cobblestones outside. A cart creaks under sacks of barley. A baby cries somewhere down the alley, the sharp kind of cry that only comes from new gums cutting through skin. And your mother, still breathing, still here. You rise slowly, not from fatigue, but from thought. You dreamed of teeth again, not being pulled, just falling. Softly, like petals. No pain, only absence. Etienne knocks. He's carrying a scarf today, one you recognize. It belonged to the boy who sold flowers at the Pont au Change. The boy who hadn't been seen since midsummer. He doesn't say it out loud, but the cloth says enough. Where did you get this? Near the markets. He says, they've opened the old stalls again, the ones under the bridge. You frown. Those were closed years ago. They weren't closed, just hidden. He gestures toward the edge of town. There's a cellar there. Not teeth, not anymore. Something older, something different. You follow. Not because you're curious, because the past always loops back, especially in Paris, especially when it smells like wet stone and burnt sugar. The underbridge market isn't crowded, but it breathes. You feel it before you see it. The warmth of hundreds of candles in clay jars, the shimmer of hand-stitched veils and powdered herbs, the low rumble of people who have nothing left to barter but stories. And there in the corner, a man behind a blue tarp. His hands are bare, his eyes are not. They're wrapped in silk, blindfolded and still. He sees you. Etienne says nothing, just waits. You step forward. The man speaks before you do. You buried it, didn't you? You pause. He nods slowly, the letter, the book. You don't ask how he knows, because some knowledge doesn't come from sight. Just listening. He places something on the cloth between you, a tooth. But unlike the others, this one is carved. Tiny lines, delicate script, a name. You lean closer. Dumas. You whisper, the doctor. Etienne murmurs, the man nods, the first one. The one who traded his own teeth. The man smiles gently, no, the one who sold them to buy fire. He leans forward. Before the trade began, he says, they came to Dumas, not for science, for desperation. They said, take the pain, turn it into medicine, turn it into money. He refused at first, but winter does strange things to a man without coal. One night he pulled his own molars, sold them for a candle, lit it for a dying girl who couldn't stand the dark. She died anyway, and so did the man. Not his body, his certainty. He began buying from the poor. From the sick, then from the still breathing, then from the newly dead, always for medicine. But he stopped keeping names, only teeth. He catalogued nothing but enamel, until no one remembered who they belonged to. Until someone finally carved his name into one. You hold the tooth in your hand. It's smooth, warm from the man's palm. You realize it's not made of bone anymore. It's ivory, a replica, a memory. You ask, why show me this now? He replies, because it's starting again. You glance at Etienne. Then back to the man. He tilts his head. They've moved north quietly past Montmartre. They're setting up a clinic for the war. Wounded, they say. You exhale. There is no war. Rain returns the next morning. Not loud, just steady. The kind of rain that feels more like memory than weather. It slicks the windows in slow rivulets, carrying the weight of dust, of time, of soot that's clung to every roof tile since before your mother was born. You sit by the sill. The tooth still rests where you left it beside the cloves, just under the warped wooden frame. It catches the light now and then when the candle flickers, not like gold, just enough to remind you this happened. And it's still happening. You hear him before you see him. Etienne never knocks anymore. He's soaked, hair plastered, boots squeaking. He holds something wrapped in oilcloth, his breath fogging the room. Found it, he says. He unwraps it slowly. It isn't bone this time. Not ink, not ledgers, paper, but not just paper, letters, dozens stained brittle, written by hand in ink so old it looks like rust. You take one carefully, the edges curl as if shrinking from being touched. You read. Madame, I write to you in urgency. My boy has not returned from his appointment at the Hotelia. They say he was never admitted, yet I sent him with the coin, and his pain was real. Please, someone must tell me where he has gone. No response is attached. You open another. We were told the extractions were safe. My daughter cannot eat now. She cannot speak. Her gums bleed in her sleep. She is 11. The man who took her in wore a cross. I trusted that. You read them all. Some are signed, some are not. Some end mid. Word, some end in silence. Etienne sets the last one in front of you. Different, not ink, charcoal, scratched into old linen. If no one else will listen. Then let the bones keep this. We are not gone. We were taken. We were not willing. Below it, a faint outline of a tooth. Inside it, the letter R. You look at Etienne. Where did you find these? He shrugs slightly beneath the choir floor. You blink the cathedral. He nods. They hid them with the choir robes under planks, tucked in velvet. Someone wanted them found eventually, but not by the wrong hands. You hold one letter a little longer. It smells faintly of wax and grief. That night, you take the letters down to the tunnel, not to bury them, not yet. You bring the candle and a slate. One by one, you copy them. Not word for word, your hands are too slow for that, but the feeling. You trace the pain, the begging, the disbelief. You etch their meaning into stone because paper fades. But walls remember. You leave the charcoal tooth symbol beside each message, and one word carved beneath them all, enough. The next morning, someone has added to it. Not you, not Etienne, but someone with a sharper blade and steadier hands, beneath the word enough. Now etched into the stone, then speak it aloud. You sit with that thought for hours, all day, through the rain. Through the low groan of your mother's breathing, through the weight of silence that has stopped feeling safe and started feeling like stone pressing against your chest. Speak it aloud, and what? Be ignored. Be silenced, be taken, but you know now, silence is what built the market. Silence is what greased the wheels, what padded the gloves, what dulled the blades, and if no one speaks it now, then someone else's teeth will be next. So that night you do it. You wait until the square is quiet. You light your candle. You step onto the It begins with a single piece of wood, no bigger than your thumb, soft, grained, whittled smooth, shaped not into a figure or a charm, but a tooth, not painted, not labeled, just left on the step of the baker's door. Then on a merchant's cart. Then in the pocket of a boy selling onions near Pont Neuf. By midweek there are dozens quietly placed, never stolen, never explained, just. Left behind, and everywhere they appear, people begin to look twice at one another. Not with fear, not with blame, but with something like recognition. The quiet kind that passes between those who know suffering and know it has a shape. You carry one in your pocket now. Etienne gave it to you without ceremony. Carved it himself from an old broom handle. You don't have to speak, he said, but you can still leave a mark. You keep it with you alongside the replica tooth bearing Dumas's name and the scrap of cloth you pinned above your mother's bed. And the smallest of the old letters, now folded to fit behind your wristband. Your silence has changed, you realize. It's no longer a fear, it's a language, a shield, a decision. That morning, the butcher leaves his stall open and walks away. He doesn't say why, but on his block sits a wooden tooth placed right at the edge, where blood once ran. The priest who dropped coins outside your door last month. He stops mid-sermon, says only I was wrong, then sets a small cloth pouch on the steps and walks away. Inside the pouch, 6 teeth, all human, all inscribed, not with names, but with initials and dates. You don't know what they mean yet, but someone will, because now everything is being remembered. Etienne finds you near dusk. His hands are ink-stained, his eyes alert. He doesn't say hello, just holds out a piece of parchment, freshly written, not a letter, a list not of victims of buyers, institutions, surgery schools, alchemists, pharmacists, nobles, dates, quantities. Pricing by condition, molars worth more, of course. Incisors, if pure, preferred for youth treatments. You stare. How did you get this? He shrugs. Someone in the archive. He says. They'd been waiting for someone to ask. You pause. Why now? He smiles, faint, tired, because wood is louder than blood, eventually. That evening the wind shifts, not the weather, the city. Someone pins one of the purchase lists to the gates of the Hotel de Ville. Someone else leaves a wooden tooth in the mouth of a gargoyle overlooking Rue Saint-Martin. A third tapes a chalk drawing of a screaming jaw to the steps of a private hospital. No speeches, no shouts. Just presence and memory, like a ghost that no longer agrees to whisper. You sit by your mother's bedside. She is quiet again, but her eyes hold something like recognition now, not lucidity, but warmth. She places her hand on yours, then opens her mouth slowly, points to the space. You wake to morning light, the kind that doesn't ask questions, it just arrives, soft through the curtain, dusty, pale. Your mother's still sleeping, or maybe just still. You don't move right away. The room is full of stillness, but not the cold kind anymore. This is the stillness of something completed, a breath held, and now let go. You step to the window, and there, on the edge of the sill where the carved tooth once lay, someone has left a note. Just folded linen, inside, a name, yours, and beneath it, one sentence. You're not forgotten. You find Etienne near the bakery, The line is longer than it's been in months. Not for bread, for the bulletin. Someone has posted every name from the old ledgers. Not the buyers, not yet. The taken, the initials, the years, the clinic names, but beside them, notes, corrections, family responses. One reads, "She didn't volunteer. She was 12. Another, "He died in 1769. The tooth was sold in 1771. A third, "I still have the gap. I still remember the scream. You stand there a long time, no one speaks, no one weeps, just reads, and slowly the city seems to lower its shoulders like it's finally been carrying something too long." Later, Etienne brings your package, unmarked, inside, a tooth, the final one, gold, capped, small, child's molar wrapped in tissue, and Ash, you recognize it, from a ledger long ago, the one that listed your name. Or your mother's, but now it's back, and beside it, a note, 4 words, scrawled in barely legible script, no one else's name. You don't cry, not exactly, but you feel something unwind behind your ribs, a knot that's been there since the first time someone said healing and meant extraction. You bury the tooth that night, not in the tunnels, not beneath the bed, in a courtyard where violets grow between cracked stone. You mark the spot with nothing but a piece of thread, red, like the kind once tied around a child's wrist to keep away illness. You whisper nothing, because the point was never noise, only truth, only memory, only rest. Paris doesn't change all at once, not the way books pretend it does. The clinics don't close overnight. The names of the rich don't vanish from ledgers. But whispers get louder, and the wooden teeth keep appearing. By spring, people are painting them, blue for grief, white for truth, black for what was stolen and never returned. They hang them from windows. From carts, from the doors of hospitals that once told mothers it was normal to lose 3 teeth before you turned 10. It is no longer normal, and that matters. Your mother passes quietly one morning. In her sleep, you find her with a wooden tooth in one hand and her wedding ring in the other. The space between her gums now soft, no pain, only silence, but now. It's a different silence, not the kind that hides. The kind that honors, you light 3 candles, one for her, one for the truth, and one for everyone whose names were never carved. But never forgotten, months pass, then years, you grow older, you write. Not books, just notes, pinned to corners, left in market stalls, dropped near old stairwells and tunnel mouths. You write things like, "She said no. He never healed. Pain is not consent." No one replies. But people leave pebbles on top of the notes, and in Paris, that is enough. That is how memory walks. One day, long after the candles have burned out, you return to the tunnel, not to grieve, just to visit. You bring nothing, only your hands. The chalk has faded, but not completely. You see the outlines still, the symbols, the letter R, the crying jaw, the word enough, etched by you, and the phrase that followed. Then speak it aloud. You say it now. Out loud, not loud, but clearly, my name is mine. My body is mine. My pain is not for sale. You wait, no answer, just silence. But this time, the silence agrees. Outside, Paris hums as usual. Someone sweeps a step. A cart rattles by. A child cries because their first tooth is loose, and for once, no one thinks of profit. Only of childhood, only of growing, only of keeping the end. And now, at last, the story sleeps. Not forgotten.
Labi, jā, skaidrs. Tu tā stāv kā čurā, ķipa, vīrietis. Paklusēt vajag vienalga. Labi, jā, skaidrs. Tu tā stāv kā čurā, ķipa, vīrietis. Paklusēt vajag vienalga. Labi, jā, skaidrs. Tu tā stāv kā čurā, ķipa, vīrietis. Paklusēt vajag vienalga. Labi, jā, skaidrs. Tu tā stāv kā čurā, ķipa, vīrietis. Paklusēt vajag vienalga. Labi, jā, skaidrs. Tu tā stāv kā čurā, ķipa, Vīrietis. Paklusēt vajag vienalga. Labi, jā, skaidrs. Tu tā stāv kā čurā, ķipa. Vīrietis. Paklusēt vajag vienalga. Labi, jā, skaidrs. Tu tā stāv kā čurā, ķipa. Vīrietis. Paklusēt vajag vienalga.